I'm on my walk today, and this tree, I've walked by multiple times, but I'm normally actually coming the other direction, so I don't really see it. But look at this. I mean, goddess, right? So I'm going to see it. I'm like all bundled up in coats and mittens and stuff, and I don't necessarily want them to get torn, because I'm a grown-up and I pay for my own things now instead of my parents. So I care. But I'm going to see if I can get up in there. This side, it looks like someone has put a rock here to maybe help me get up there. But it's been a minute since I've climbed a tree. All right, well, I need another stone or another set of hands to help get me up in this beauty. But I'll be back. I'm gonna come back. Maybe one day when Jerry joins me or one of the kids. I'll see if they'll give me a little boost so I can just lay in that little nest of a beautiful tree being and feel held. All right. Oh man, and I'm filming the wrong way. It's fine. For so long, the reels and TikToks and Instagram, everything needed to be this way. And now I'm doing YouTube and it's supposed to be this way. I haven't quite made the full transition, but I'm gonna sit down here and soak up the sun. And feeling much better today because I finally started. My blood released. And this is a thing that is really interesting to talk about, because I was raised in a family where this was like, we don't really talk about this. It's a private topic and taboo, and it's maybe not really it's not really appropriate conversation. And I'm in this place of, why not? More than half the population are women, and most of those bleed and have these hormonal cycles that I did not know there were 4 phases to my moon cycle until I was in my 40s. And guys, next month I'm going to be 44, so I'm not even very far into my 40s. I knew we ovulated and I knew we bled. But other than that, I didn't know there were these other phases. And when I learned about them, I was so blown away. And I felt so empowered to know my body on this level. It seemed so intimate and so right. Like these beautiful, we have moved away from tribal societies, and now we live on our own, and we're all doing our own thing in our own homes, and we have communities and culture, and there's clubs. People have clubs, but we've kind of lost those rites and rituals of being human and stepping into this, I'm a woman now that I'm bleeding. I have this new part of me that will be part of me for the vast majority of my life, and I wasn't taught about it. And I don't blame my mom. Again, none of this is, she was doing what she was taught, and her mom was a nurse. And it was just very medical, and this is just a thing that happens, and we just stop it by placing a plug, and you're set up, and now you know how to do that, and we don't need to talk about it anymore. They didn't talk about these things. And I have found that the more I learn and the more I talk with other women who are open to these conversations, the more healing I discover. And I've been able to pass it on to my daughters. I have 3 daughters that now know, one in her adult, now she's an adult, the other one's an adult, but she learned just right before she became an adult. And my youngest has learned as she's actually coming into this womanhood, understanding that there's more to just this annoying thing that I gotta take care of once a month. It's like, no, this is a really beautiful process that your body goes through, and you're gonna have these phases. we're all on the same app, the Stardust app. So we all get to track each other, and we sometimes sync up and sometimes we're not. But it's like, there's this beautiful understanding of, I can look at the app and go, okay, this daughter is in her luteal phase. Maybe now is not the time to talk about revisiting the chore chart with her, or, resetting a routine with her on school, or, homework or whatever. Now is the time to just kind of be like, just like give her love and space, love and space, love and space. Oh, she's ovulating. Now's a great time to tackle some projects and say, hey, maybe we should organize your room, or let's look at your calendar and restructure some things. It's been so beautiful to understand and know your body and the process. So for any of you out there who maybe did not know that there are 4 phases to a woman's monthly cycle, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're bleeding or not, it is beautiful to know and understand. And I highly recommend knowing a little bit, if you live with somebody else who is bleeding, knowing their cycle. Very powerful. And don't say anything, just knowing and shifting accordingly, unless they're open to talking about it. Like Jerry and I, very open. The other day we were getting ready to go to the opera, and I just could not find an outfit that was appropriate, and I didn't feel good enough, and I was just irritated. And he just looked at me and he goes, luteal phase? And I was like, yes. And because I know, and I have known, and I track that my luteal phase is just, and I know it's not him, and I don't need to lash out at him, and I don't need to blame him, and I don't need to argue, and I don't even need to be mad at him for calling it out, because bless his heart, he's trying to figure it out too, and we've come to a really beautiful space there. So for those of you who did not know, the menstrual cycle starts with the bleed. Day 1 of the cycle is the first day of bleeding. So today I'm on day 1. Yay! And the bleed is considered the crone phase. It is the wisdom phase. It is where you are, it's interesting that culture has deemed us as dirty and bad, and that we should be shunned and pushed away and hidden. That's how the culture has deemed, in the ancient practices, the red tent, when actually it was this really beautiful sacred time of a woman being so in tune with her intuition that being around other people could sully that intuition and not actually honor that deep well of wisdom that is coming through at this time. It is winter. It is the water phase. It is the rest and nurture as your body just releases the egg that didn't become a viable human, the egg that wasn't fertilized. It's just a time of rest. Just give yourself space. And just wisdom. Journal, art, creating during this time is really beautiful and powerful. And then after the bleed, that can last anywhere from 3 to 7 days, depending on the person. And I may not give you all of these stats. You can look all of these up if you want the exacts. The next phase, let's just say roughly a week, okay? In an ideal world, ideal, whatever the fuck that is. But the next phase is there's some dogs fighting. It's so cute. Fighting, but distracting me. Then the second phase is come on, Jenny, the follicular phase. And this is, oh man, now that I'm having to tell it. Okay, so I may have to work backwards here. So pre-bleed is it's the fall, it's the autumn. It is the egg is starting to move. It's realizing that it didn't get fertilized, it's not being implanted, and it is a mourning of the possibilities that could have been a life, a baby, a creation. And typically that phase is energy is really starting to drop. All of the hormone levels are starting to tank. You're just tired and hungry. There's a couple of days in my luteal phase where I'm just a black hole. I just, no matter what I'm putting in my face, it's an hour later, I'm starving again. And there's moments of like, for me, almost manic type of energy where it's just like, okay, this is like the last time I can gather berries before the winter, before the hibernation, the last time I can do stuff and have energy to do stuff before before winter. So that is the luteal phase right before the bleed. And then there's the ovulation, which is summer, and everything is awesome. This is the maiden. The luteal phase is like the wild woman. It's the witch. It's the pharaoh witch goblin phase. If we're looking at archetypes, the wild woman that just doesn't have her ground anywhere. Doesn't live by any rules. She does her own thing. And if you get on her wrong side, watch out. She will curse you. But it's not always bad. It's not always horrible. It's learning how to work with the energies. Ovulation, when the egg is ripe and ready for implantation, it's ready for fertilization, implantation, fertilization. And it's just this native, naive, innocent maiden energy, just like la 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 la, everything is sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, and just so excited about life. And there's all of this energy, and creativity again is off of the hook. The creativity in ovulation is like externally focused. The creativity in crone, the bleed phase, is very internally focused. Maybe it's just contemplating or seeing new visions of what's ready to be birthed in the next cycle. And the ovulation is like I'm ready for this baby. I'm going to like make this baby happen, and I'm going to do the thing that makes the baby. And yes, we're talking sex metaphorically here. Like I'm ready for the partner to mate and just make merry. That's ovulation energy. And then the follicular phase it's the spring, it's the starting to come out, it's this fresh energy. It is very mother energy. It is nurturing the ideas that just happened during the bleed, when the crone had her visions, her internal visions of creation, of what I'm going to create next in the next cycle, the divine downloads that come from the crone. The mother is going to nurture those. And the mother is very responsible and just does the things that need to happen. Isn't, wild and crazy and risk-taking like ovulation maiden. And she's not mourning and like kind of just like, like the wild woman of like, this didn't work. This isn't happening. And I've got to prepare and get ready to store up for the winter because I don't know when it's going to be spring again. The wild woman is she's more feral, and the mother in the follicular phase, she's more grounded. She's more connected to her roots, because she just went through that deep cleansing of the crone and the wise woman energy. And of course, everyone kind of has their own ways of flowing through that. And you'll find it, like I talked about the red journal the last time I mentioned tracking your cycle. So Stardust is really good, just like an app to have on your phone, and you can track with your friends. Your partner can have access to it to see where you are as well. And it gives little nuggets of information, which I really like. But for me, it's just like a tracker of when the period is, when the ovulation is, until I kind of started to learn on my own. I could feel it. I could start to feel my energy shifting as I've been tracking for the last 4 years. The red journal goes way deeper, where you start to track your moods. You're like, maybe yesterday I had a conversation with Jerry that probably needed to wait until not luteal phase. Luteal phase for me is not a good time to have important conversations, because to me, everything is emergency and I need to fix it before I bleed. Like I got to get this figured out before it happens, and it's just not a good time to have important conversations during luteal phase for me. I also, for me, like you can my cramping, like a lot of people cramp when they're on their period. I have my cramping before. I have my hormone headache. Like my luteal phase is my worst. As soon as I start to bleed, I feel amazing. The luteal phase is hell. I get hormone headaches. I get my cramping. I'm really tired. I get really bloated. Luteal's my worst phase, but everyone is different. And so learning to track, and then you'll even find within the red journal, you start to find there's your monthly cycle. that happens. But then that's your micro cycle. There's a macro cycle. Like every 3 months I go through this, like everything is awful and there's no way to fix it. And I'm just going to burn it all down and start over because no matter what I do, I'm not good enough. Like that happens about a quarter for me. Like every 3 months I go through a phase like that. And so like learning these, and I haven't really been very diligent in the red journal. So that one is a goal that I'm going to maybe pick up. Maybe on my birthday, I'm going to start that one because I'm in the middle of 2 journeys right now. So let me just, let's get through one of those and before I pick up another one. But maybe on my birthday, because that'd be fun to track for a whole year. Because I typically, there's also, we go with the moon on average. There's 13 moon cycles in a year. And so most women have 13 periods a year. And so there will always be 1 month that you have 2 periods. You're not dying. It's normal because we go with the moons. And mine is typically the month before my birthday. So, but again, I haven't been super tracking my year cycle the way the red journal suggests. So I'll be starting that journey here soon. So I would love to know in the comments, did you know that there were 4 phases to a woman's moon cycle? There was more than just the bleed and ovulation. And did you know the archetypes that went with them? The crone, mother, maiden, and wild woman. Ooh. and the seasons even, winter, spring, summer, fall. I mean, we go with the cycles. So, and then there's some women, like in the red journal, she talks about like, some women always start bleeding. It's not always exactly, this many days or whatever, but like they always start when the moon is in Virgo, or they always start, so it's just really interesting. It'll be really interesting to start tracking that one. But let me know, did you know this about your cycle or your partner's cycle? And how does this help you? How will this change how you handle yourself and your own cycle or your partners who you are with that is bleeding? Because I think this is a conversation a topic that needs to happen. And I know my girls are very happy that I have shared this with them. In fact, my older daughter continues to send me reels about things I didn't even know that because I've started her on this information younger, because she's in her 20s, or I was in my 40s, I've given her a 20-year head start. The different color, the color of your blood can tell you the health of your body, what's going on in your body. And I was like, what? That's awesome. And how you can change your diet. You can know based on the color of your blood. One thing that I also started doing about 10 years ago, this one I don't remember how I was introduced to the cup, but I remember that like for a while, it really grossed me out. And then I was just like, I had heard about all of the horrible chemicals in tampons and how people were getting so sick from it. And it was causing problems with fertility and all sorts of stuff. And I was just really stepping into my natural hippie phase and loving the earth. And I was like, oh, I could buy 1 cup that's good for 10 years or go through approximately 20 tampons every month. I mean, that's a lot of waste over a lifetime, of having a cycle, a period. That's a lot of garbage and chemicals that I'm putting in my body and the planet. So I started a cup, and then I met this really beautiful woman who was using the blood instead of just dumping it down the toilet, was using the blood for, her offerings. She would go give it to the earth, or she would put it on her altar, and, it's called blood magic. And where that used to be evil and dark and bad, it's like, actually, this blood is incredibly powerfully potent, full of minerals and vitamins. I mean, it was, it had everything, your uterus had everything ready to support life growing. Those nutrients are so powerful. I've painted myself with it. I give it to my plants and water my plants with it. I've given it to my blackberries. I've given it to my any of my plants actually at my house have been fed with my blood by now, but also charged under moons and used for different rites and all these beautiful things. But then so I learned about that from one woman, and then another woman about a year after that was saying how the only blood that is spilled on planet Earth right now is out of war, bloodshed, out of pain, murder, and how that has got to be affecting our planet. Where in the past women used to free bleed, they would walk their crops and weed and fertilize and nurture their crops with their blood. The earth was given this beautiful blood that is so natural and healing and full of so many vitamins and nutrients that the only blood the earth receives right now is out of hate, war, pain, murder, death. And so I was like, oh yeah, now I'm like even more excited that I'm like feeding my plants, and giving back to the earth and, saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And here's some beautiful life sustaining natural blood that didn't come from war, suffering, hatred, murder. So there's some really beautiful things that it can be used for. And I think it's time that we talk about it again. Where it used to be a very natural, normal thing. And the women would go with the red tent and celebrate this rite of passage and honor this beautiful sacred time, instead of being told that we're dirty and that we need to be shunned and hidden away, and that we can't hold specific powers or hold specific ceremonies because we are unclean. It's very opposite. It is one of our most potent and powerful times, and that was the movement to start us questioning our power and our authority by telling us we're not worthy of it, and that we're actually dirty, and that it's a bad time, and that we need products that smell to smell better, to mask the scent. How embarrassing. It's not. It is beautiful. It is natural. And it's necessary. So, okay, I have talked long enough. I'm gonna step off of my soapbox now. And I think the tree semi spurred this, because she is shaped like a yoni. Her legs very provocatively spread. I wanted to just go nestle into it. But nature does that, doesn't it? Getting outside in nature can do that for us. So I love you. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.